into it, and we're looking at item number 2, our delegations. And with plenty of advertising and website advertisements and newspaper advertisements, we found our councillor who we'd like to welcome to the room. So at this point, I'd call Councillor Brenda Johnson. And thanks, Brenda. Just to remind you that you have registered, I believe, for a 5-minute delegation, although I don't think we're tight for time. And once again, welcome to the room, which you are very, very familiar with. So please proceed.
Thank you very much. This is really odd, to be honest with you. Careful, that's my seat. First of all, thank you very much for listening and for having me speak with you tonight. I know you have pretty hard decisions on your hands. And quite frankly, I don't envy you at all. I really don't. I actually sympathize greatly with your agenda in front of you, your mandate that's not of your own. It's something that's handed to you from the province. But I just wanted to give you some idea of what it's been like on this side. So just to give you an idea, I'm the councillor for Ward 11. It starts in Winona and ends in Mount Hope. It's the second largest ward in the city. It's the fastest growing ward, 78.6% in the last 4 years. I suspect in the next 4 to 5 years, I'll be the #1 in population in all of the city of Hamilton. So that should just give you an idea of the growth population, but also how important our schools are to us. When the ARC notices first came out for West Glanbrook, the first thing I did was I contacted the person, and please forgive me for not remembering the person's name, very nice lady, and said, is it okay if I come? And the response I got back, respectfully so, we would prefer not to have any political influence in the room. And I totally understood that and respected that. So I just wanted to put that out there. And to be honest with you, I probably would have said the same to you as well, but I don't know. I haven't been through this. So after many residents contacted me, they said that they were not getting any responses to their questions. Could I please help? So the last ARC meeting I attended, the one that was at Bellstone, and it was really interesting. There were only 2 parents there. Now, I know how you must feel. You've got a situation downtown where you've got a momentum that just seems to be larger than life, or you get complacency. And out in Mount Hope, you got complacency. So after the meeting was over, the Glanbrook Gazette, and I see Tamara Botting up there right now. You should be over here. This is where the media sits, by the way. And Tamara was there and wrote an article, and it basically said, where was everybody? And there was a letter in the editor the week later, and I have copies of it here. I will not read it verbatim because some of it's very derogatory. And it basically said, what's the sense? And that was really discerning. What do you mean, what's the sense? The Board of Education goes through all this time, all this money, trying to get the message out there, and they're not getting the message. And that was really bothersome to me. One of the things that was said during this ARC meeting, because the parents came up to me afterwards and said at the very beginning, they asked, why wasn't all 3 schools in Glanbrook reviewed? And this is not to suggest to close down one school over the other. But if you take a look at Glanbrook, you have on the very far west, you have the Mount Hope Village, that's your Mount Hope Elementary. On the far east, you have Belmore School that you just erected, which, by the way, I don't think I need to remind you that's overflowing. And then you have Bellstone tucked in the center. You have, what, 60, 65 children that are going to it. So it's completely underutilized. Why wasn't all 3 schools looked at to take a look at whether the students could be distributed? Or you can take a look at Mount Hope. My understanding during this ARC meeting that Mount Hope has some physical issues. So we're going to put more children in there, and I can tell you as the councillor of that area that it's still continuing to grow. It's not stopping. Just because the airport's there, all the growth was approved prior to the airport being the size it is. So it's going to continue to grow, and Mount Hope Elementary is going to have a lot of stresses. Now take a look at Bellstone. It's in the middle of the rural area. You can't develop it. We can't put water and sewer in there. So what is it going to be used for? My understanding is in the 1990s, you got a new gym put in there. You got some other good stuff put in there. So that's my request to you today. I understand you do not have an envious job. You've got some tough decisions to make. But I really wish that the entire community of Glanbrook was reviewed, and not just specifically just the west side. So it would have helped me a little bit better to stand in front of you and take bullets, but it's really hard for me to sympathize when I thought, yeah, we got 2 schools that are at capacity or near capacity, and we have one in the middle that's totally underutilized, and it's sitting in the middle of a ward that's growing faster than any ward in this city. So I really like, and I understand you have a process in place, and I respect that process. I'm just really asking you to step back a little bit, take a look at all 3 schools, and see whether or not there's a solution here that you can feel a little bit better about going forward. So those are my comments, and thank you very much for coming all the way down here for me. I just had to come over from my office, but I really appreciate you taking the time. And again, good luck with your decisions. They're not easy. I've said this to you in meetings. I think Mr. Hicks was there and Trustee Bishop was there, and I said it there, and I'll say it again. I don't envy your position. It's not an easy one. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. If you could just hang out there for just 1 second, just in terms of our process, after delegations, we do have the ability, according to our rules, to ask up to 5 minutes of any questions to the delegates. It's not 5 minutes per trustee, but a timed item, 5 minutes total. So just to remind trustees that moving forward, that is the process. So at this point, are there any questions from trustees to Councillor Johnson? Trustee Johnstone?
She spells her name wrong.
I just added that little bit more onto the end.
Yeah, that's right.
So I just wanted to make you aware that, just wanted to make you aware that the question that you've raised was actually raised during trustees' questions at our last meeting, and I believe it's being answered by staff tonight. Is that correct, in terms of why all 3 schools were not considered? Is that on tonight's?
Yes, it's on tonight's agenda, but just to remind trustees that there are questions for clarification from the delegate. So any clarification questions to the delegate directly. We can ask staff questions afterwards.
Sure, yep. I just wanted to make sure that Councillor Johnson and the audience were aware that that question actually will be answered later tonight if you want to stick around.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Johnson. Are there any other questions for the delegate? Being none, thank you very much for coming out, Councillor Johnson. I'm sure we'll see you for the rest of the process as well.